Hello, and welcome to another interview pertaining to White Album 2. Today's interviewees are Madoka Yonezawa, who is the voice actress of Setsuna, and Hitomi Nabatame, who is the voice actress of Kazusa. So, the two main heroines of the game. This is the PlayStation interview with Madoka Yonezawa and Hitomi Nabatame. Dengeki PlayStation. Dengeki it's like an online site that has a lot of different game reviews, recommendations, that kind of thing. So Dengeki PlayStation is focused on PlayStation games, and the PS3 version had come out shortly before this interview. A story that grows more painful as it goes. An interview with the voice actress of White Album 2's two main heroines. Hello, and good evening. This is Negi Toran from Dengeki PlayStation. Following our interview with Aquaplus president Naoya Shimokawa, and our joint interview with scenario writer Fumiaki Maruto and key artist Takeshi Nakamura. We now interview Madoka Yonezawa-san and Hitomi Nabatame-san, who voiced the two heroines appearing in Introductory Chapter. After performing in a work of this volume, what stories will they recount from the auditioning and recording process? What are their thoughts on the characters and their co-stars? Let us give you a glimpse of the passion of the voice actors' camp, not to be outdone by the Aquaplus staff members. And I have done the other interviews which have the staff members, and that is really interesting in its own way because it talks about the production side of things. But learning from the voice actor's point of view is also very interesting. Characters that came into view during auditions. Your two roles were decided by audition. Do you have any anecdotes to share about that? I auditioned for Setsuna, and the audition included a song. The first thing I was told by the director was to use my own voice, and I performed her not as a moe-type character, but as a girl who could exist in reality. Actually, I tried playing Kazusa as well, but they had me stop in the middle of that one, and I thought, well, this probably isn't Kazusa. Oh, that's so awkward. Can you imagine being stopped in the middle of an audition? Like, ugh. In my case, I joined in the middle of the auditions. I wasn't planning to participate in it at first, but then a member of the staff at the place where I was doing some other work said, "Why don't you try auditioning for WA2?" And that gave me my opportunity. That's how I wound up auditioning for Kazusa, but before the audition, I didn't understand all that much about Kazusa's personality or feelings. Then I read the audition manuscript, and even though it was for a simple conversation, I could see her depth showing and hiding itself throughout. I assumed that after I'd read the entire scenario, I would understand why she was talking about something like that, but I wasn't seeing it. On the other hand, that very fact meant that I could interpret her however I liked while I was playing her, which was a lot of fun. Love hearing the backstories of why they auditioned, because I feel like 90% of the time it's always something random, like, oh yeah, I wasn't even planning to audition, but then so-and-so mentioned it and I thought, oh, I'll give it a shot. That is so cool, because I cannot even imagine Kazusa existing as someone else, as someone other than Nabatame-san. So the fact that she was just like this close to not even auditioning, that's crazy to me. Actually, I was suddenly asked whether I might try out for Setsuna as well, and there was a song for that one. So I have a vivid memory of hurriedly listening to the song and singing it. But for some reason, when I play Setsuna, she just turns into Yuma. Yuma, I'm gonna jump down to the asterisk here. Yuma Tonami, the character portrayed by Nabatame-san in To Heart 2. An unconventional heroine who challenges the protagonist, Takaaki, at every opportunity, but always loses and then disappears with a parting threat. Also, this one wasn't a tape audition, but rather a studio audition in which we performed in front of the staff, and I'm glad about that. If it were a tape audition, then if the character I pictured different from that the staff were picturing, that would probably be the end of it. But in the studio, you can keep what the other side has told you in mind while you're performing. I love that kind of exchange, and that also made my WA2 audition a lot of fun. I can imagine. Tape auditions, also, you can get like a ton of tape auditions, right? That's a lot to sift through. But in-person audition, there's going to be fewer people going in, and the staff might speak to you directly, like even right after your audition. It might be a faster process. One other thing. I personally have been voice acting for a long time, and that tends to lead to a sort of solidification in parts played. But they wanted natural acting for WA2, and starting at the audition stage, I found myself with a very strong feeling that I wanted to spend a long time with this character. Well, that's good, because White Album 2 was a long project. And then they got an anime. And hopefully more anime in the future. Who knows? You were given illustrations to look at when you tackled your auditions. What were your first impressions of Setsuna and Kazusa? I thought Setsuna seemed like a very pure girl who was raised in an upright way. Of course, she is actually quite strong, but I couldn't tell that from the picture. Seeing the two of them next to each other, I got a hero and villain sort of impression. Kazusa has this very cool look, and her awkwardness is pretty obvious. But when you put her right next to Setsuna, she really looks like the bad guy. Oh, poor Kazusa. She's not the bad guy. She's just a little bit darker. She's the tsundere character. It had been explained to me that this was a double heroine game, but I thought, doesn't Kazusa seem kind of pitiful? Well, that's certainly Haruki's opinion of her. When you were playing the parts, did you find any points where you could sympathize? I can sympathize with how Setsuna's family is number one in her life. She's always thinking of them. Her father treasures her even though he's strict. Her mother gently wraps her up in love. Her little brother is a bit annoying, but he still cares about his big sister. I also love my family, and we always celebrate anniversaries and things together, so I can relate to her on that point. Yonezawa-san, I've heard that you enjoy singing and often do solitary karaoke. Solitary, that makes it sound so serious. Just call it solo karaoke. Yes, I love to sing, so when I heard that Setsuna's audition involved a song, I threw myself into practicing it. As far as solitary karaoke goes, I can do it for 3 hours straight with no problem. She is Setsuna. I'm awkward, just like Kazusa. What? Really? A little bit. Just a teeny bit. But not as awkward as Kazusa. I've heard you do interacting on the radio show. I feel like we have similar ways of thinking that keep us from being completely open, too. While I was playing her, I found myself looking at her with a sort of familial affection, like, you can't just keep talking like that all the time. Aww. That's how we all feel. Like, come on, Kazusa. Feelings about the protagonist, Haruki. The main character, Haruki, becomes a point of focus for the two girls. What do you think are the points wherein his charm lies? He always tells them exactly what they want to hear, with extraordinary timing. I think that part of him holds a big attraction. And it's not like he's calculating the perfect timing to speak up either. He just does it naturally, which is pretty amazing. Which begs the question, really. If the timing wasn't quite right, would they have fallen for Haruki? For example, if Setsuna had met Haruki before the whole friendship tragedy happened, would she still have been attracted to him, or was part of her attraction due to, the sadness and what ended up happening? Who knows? That must be what makes him popular. Though, it also makes him that much easier to hate. Right. Haruki is the kind of character that you can't praise openly. I know that that's a flaw, but I find myself drawn to him anyway. His lack of ulterior motives and his overly helpful nature probably make it easy for girls to open their hearts to him. What would you do if you met a man like Haruki in real life? I would probably be weak to a type like Haruki. I might be freaking out as the distance gradually closed between us, but then, before I knew it, we'd be getting along well. I wonder if it would be hard for a voice actress like the Setsuna and Kazusa roles to play a girl who's so in love with Haruki if they hated his character. You know what I mean? Like, if they can see where Haruki's charm is, I feel like they can throw themselves into the role a little bit better. But if they were just like, oh, I hate this main character, he's such a jerk, I don't know. I wonder if that would change. I mean, they're professionals. I get that. They're professionals, so they do what they need to do. But it's interesting that they're both like, yeah, Haruki's great. I love Haruki. I can see that. Haruki isn't the kind who's pushy when it comes to romance, but he is pushy with his way of getting close to someone. So you might suddenly find a place for him to belong with you. In that sense, he might be the type you would fall for first. But he seems like he isn't actually thinking of you at all. Since Setsuna's the school idol, I feel like everyone has always looked at her with ulterior motives. That's why she fell for Haruki, because there had never been anyone like him before. Come to think of it, Nabatame-san, it seems like lately you've been bearing more hatred for the one playing Haruki than for Haruki himself. Oh, Haruki's voice actor, no. Yes. Damn you, Takahiro Mizushima. And then jumping down to the little asterisk. The voice actor who portrays the main character of the game, Haruki Kitahara. His first name is read Takahiro, but his fellow voice actors often call him Daichu because of the reading of the kanji in his name. Known for roles such as Rolo from Code Geass, Lelouch of the Rebellion. They're so cute, though. Like, they're joking. They're definitely joking. They definitely get along with that voice actor. They've done a lot of different interviews on the White Album 2 fan club radio, which if you haven't heard, I recommend checking out. I do readings of the English translation. Very adorable seeing the trio just kind of chatting as themselves rather than their characters. But Takahiro-san just says Haruki-kun's lines. He's not really Haruki. Here's the thing. When Mizushima-san talked to me, he would always tell me that out of the heroines, he liked Kazusa. But the other day, while we were eating with the staff, I heard him say, I think Setsuna is better than Kazusa, from the other side of the room. After telling me so many times he liked Kazusa, ever since then I've been bitter at Mizushima-san. Oh no, that's a very Haruki-like thing to do, I gotta say. That's awful. Maybe he's been playing the part so much that Haruki-kun has possessed him. Oh. Possessed by Haruki, that sounds like a horrible fate. Continuing on, White Album 2 Questions and Answers with Yonezawa and Nabatame, Part 2. Grasping emotions that aren't depicted in the script. You've recorded quite a lot of lines. Were there any difficulties during the recording process? My thoughts regarding Kazusa were pretty similar to those of the director, so acting was very easy. But there are a lot of points in the WA2 script at which her own feelings aren't written out in the stage directions or in her lines. There are often scenes in which she lies to herself, and even while I was speaking the lines as they were written in the script, something felt wrong. Which brings up an excellent point, because they're obviously playing as fans. Everyone has their own theories. Like, did this character know what was going on here? Were they pretending not to know? Especially with White Album 2, there's a lot of like, were they lying to someone? Were they lying to themselves? Were they aware? And from what Nabatame-san is telling us, they didn't even know themselves, which I find fascinating. But it just plays into that open-endedness. Like, well, the fans got to make that assumption for themselves. And I think that's kind of what makes White Album 2 so fun. We had a lot of discussions about how I should express those moments. A single line could raise questions of what direction I should take in acting it out. Kazusa, in particular, doesn't let a lot of her emotions show. So I found myself fumbling a lot, wondering how to play her. I performed it with the sense that I was walking a tightrope to get what the staff wanted, but that was actually a lot of fun. Aww. Hearing her having fun while doing her job just makes my heart sing. Because if you're not enjoying it, you shouldn't be in the industry. You know, recently you hear a lot about the new directors who get creative rights over a series, and they're like, yeah, I don't even like the series, but I gotta make a sequel. And it's just, it shows. White Album 2 is the opposite of that. You can tell they're enjoying it. Setsuna is capable of respecting her own opinions, but there's also a part of her that withdraws and puts herself down. She can also be surprisingly calculating. She takes some pretty extreme actions in the interest of protecting the relationships between the three of them. Yeah, extreme is a pretty good word for it. She's a school idol, so she probably provokes a lot of jealousy in the other girls. Definitely. Her friends aren't exactly countless. Setsuna was a character for whom, if I were you, I would do this. Would not be effective. But I do think Setsuna has the power to draw admiration from other girls. She gives the impression of a firm core, which is very enviable. On the other hand, Kazusa has the kind of weakness that boys love. Oh, wait, are you bragging? No, I just meant that Setsuna and Kazusa strike a perfect balance. Though I did think Kazusa was bad news at first. I know Maruto-san has written an additional scenario for the PS3 release. Are you finished recording for that? We finished recording a few days ago. I can't give too many details. Should be too many details. But please look forward to the added scenario. All I can say is, have fun imagining what might happen in this new scenario until the day it's released. That is the vaguest statement she possibly could have given. Like, can't tell you much, but have fun imagining. Like, okay, thanks, we will. White Album 2 Fan Club Radio is currently in transmission. Please tell us a few points about that, if you would. Love the Fan Club Radio, as I mentioned earlier. Very, very cute program. Yonezawa-san is going to become an idol on the radio. So, everyone, use all your power to lift her up. You're going to cause a misunderstanding if you leave off there. There's a segment in the program that involves wanting to become an idol like Setsuna and put on live shows. There are plenty of other segments, one that progresses as though Setsuna and Kazusa are fighting with each other, one where the two of us discuss various grievances with adults and decide whether the adults or the listeners are in the wrong. By no means is it just about me becoming an idol. It is a cute segment. Setsuna pretends to be a girl who wants to be an idol, and then they have to get audience suggestions on the type of scenario which would be the best, and then they act it out. It's a very cute program. But it is definitely not the only part of the radio show. They talk about a lot of White Album 2 content. They talk about their feelings towards certain characters, their opinions on different routes, and then just answer fan mail. It's very fun. Well, to me, that segment is the most fun because it's all about somebody else. You're always saying that. Nabatame-san, do you actually want to become an idol yourself? I wanted to be an idol a long, long time ago, but I've given up on that by now. But now I've trusted that dream to Yonezawa-san. I'll be supporting her, so everyone, send your own messages of support. Oh, Nabatame-san, the idol. I think she could have done it. I think she would have done a great job. Finally, do you have a message for all our readers who are eagerly awaiting the release of the PS3 edition? This is a story that gets more and more painful as it goes, but it's also the kind of story where you just have to know what happens next. Also, as the name White Album suggests, it's a game best played in winter, so I hope you all look forward to this winter. Oh, it's sad though, because then you end up looking out the window as the snow is falling, if you live in a place with snow, and you're like, no, this is so sad. Where I live in Japan, we get a lot of snow, so I can tell you from experience that I have done the same thing many times. White Album 2 is a long story with a lot of volume, but it all connects together in important ways, so please play it with care. Performing it really took a lot out of us, so I imagine playing it must be fairly draining too. Good lord, yeah, playing it is hard, but can you imagine doing the voice acting for some of those scenes? Especially the heart-wrenching scenes. I feel like that'd be worse than running a marathon, emotionally, physically, all of it. This is a game where attention has been given to even the finest details, so I think you're guaranteed to get completely absorbed if you play it. I hope all kinds of people will give it a try. Which they have, and they do. This game is unlike most adult-oriented romance games, in that even the heroines you reject have stories of their own. And even if you end up with the girl you were aiming for, you still find yourself feeling guilty somehow. Very true. What is that guilt, I wonder? Playing it does make it feel a little like your soul is being whittled down. But you just keep doing it. However the story may conclude, please play it and etch it deeply into your mind. Even if it traumatizes you. Which, you know, most of us got a teeny bit traumatized by it. No, you should have fun playing it. If you do find yourself traumatized, give yourself a breather by listening to our radio show. Aw, they're so adorable. I just love hearing them talk. So, little asterisk number 3. Fumiaki Maruto is what it's referring to, the scenario writer who handled the scenario for this game. He has worked primarily on PC games, and this marks his first time penning a new scenario for a console game. Also currently active as a light novel author. And then number 4, referring to the fan club radio, a radio show that broadcasts on Onsen Radio every Friday, with Yonezawa-san and Nabatame-san on board as personalities. Who can say what strange banter might arise? This article was published in Dengeki PlayStation, volume 527, released September 27th, 2012. And with that adorableness finished, that was our interview with the 2 main heroines from White Album 2. So, thank you ever so much for joining me on this interview pertaining White Album 2. And I'll be back doing more White Album 2 interviews in the future. So until then, hope you take care. See you.